Good morning, and welcome to Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. And now here's your host, the Voice of Doom. Alright, thank you, Mr. Announcer, for having a little decorum this morning because it's going to be an episode that's going to be the hardest. And it was what I was dreading this whole time about talking about 2020, and it's really not the end. It's just something I have to say. And I want to say it without getting all weepy like little Alex would say in Clockwork Orange. It's the sad part of the story. But I'm going to start with a life lesson because it'll probably be the most important thing ever said on this website. And nobody will probably hear it because they won't stumble across this video. But it's a life lesson that's not only almost irrefutable pretty much, but anyone can implement it immediately, starting the minute they turn off this show. And the life lesson is this. If you have a significant other or a spouse or what have you, someone you care about, and you're sitting with them in the middle of the night, and they may not be in so much pain, but they may be a little drowsy, but not really tired enough to go to sleep, and you just want to keep them company, and they want the company, and even if you don't say anything, they want the company because they want to know someone's there, and they're not just laying in their bed helpless and basically waiting to die and not wanting to admit it. So you talk, and when I say talk, I mean we never really had that much in common the whole time we were married. And that is the life lesson that I'm going to probably say twice. When you're talking with your significant other and you've reached the end, or you're reaching it, you don't want to search for good memories. That's one of the main things I learned through this whole thing. I'll say it one more time. If you make it through to the end and you're trying to comfort your loved one by going back to all the good times you had, you don't want to search for good memories, because that's exactly what I found myself doing, because I'm not a person to just make up things or to sugarcoat things, even though you could. I mean, you could say, oh, remember the time we got arrested, for domestic, and, kind of laugh about that. I mean, you could, because it's in the past, and we were idiots, and maybe we're idiots to the end, but if everybody took that to heart, then they'd be going, let's go for a walk, or let's go for a bike ride, or let's do anything almost. Let's drive up into the mountains. Let's go have a really nice lunch at a, waterside restaurant, The more good memories you make, the more you won't have to search for them at the end. And I'm telling you firsthand right now, and they don't have to cost a lot. Believe me, most of the great memories that I talked about with her didn't cost a cent. So that's probably the best advice I could give to the world, because it's not about the meaning of life, and it's not about teaching people how to live. It's like, that's advice that I think anyone can take to heart, because the worst thing that could happen if you take my advice is you do a lot of things through your life and then you regret it, because like, you told me years ago to make good memories, and I did, and now I'm actually pretty happy. So I'm just going to leave it at that with that life lesson, because it is the weepy, weepy part of the story now, and I wanted to kind of, you know, I'm through with the logistics, but as they come up, I'll mention them because I really didn't even uh, scratch the surface as far as what you have to do, because you have to be kind of ready for anything, and just the regular simple functions of life, of getting out of bed to go to the bathroom, and you got the cords and you got the oxygen, and she's like, turn up the oxygen, I can't breathe, and it's like, so I'm turning it, and then, no, that's too much, and then you got to be real careful, and then I find out I shouldn't even be adjusting it at all from the nurse. But I'm going to kind of go through things from less of a logistics and more of a personal interaction point of view, because there's times when, you know, you're lucid and you're actually ambulatory. And that might have been the worst time, because I've been going through the ringer with all these tasks every single day, just hoping I can wake up in the morning after getting like 5 hours or 6 hours without interruption, which is not likely, but if I could, and then wake up in the morning and not be woken up by screeching in the walkie-talkie, but just wake up and go, I have to check to make sure she's okay, but I don't want to wake her if she is, okay, because then she'll be awake and then the whole thing starts again. Ice water, juice. I need something to eat, fill my syringe, I need my remedies, and the day goes on. And then I already told you about that. So you're just in that mode, and then it's kind of like when you are encouraged, then your bubble is burst, because it's bad for me and my kid. We're very sensitive about that. Being in a good mood and then somebody bursts your bubble, and then suddenly you're in a very bad mood because I was happy, I was trying to be helpful, and now you've. So at any rate, I think I went to work. I don't know what I did. I went to get something, grocery store. It could have been almost anything. And I come home and I see through the window that my wife is in the kitchen doing something, cooking or fixing something up. And I'm kind of encouraged that she's able to do that. And I walk in and I say, oh, you see, you're up and about, all cheery. Well, she laid into me. Ah, damn you, where were you? I got hungry and I had to get up myself, and you don't care about me, and I don't want any more help from you. I don't want any more help from anyone. And it kind of hurts because you're trying to help, and I know it's coming from her own frustration and her own pain, because I've been sick, like with a flu, where I'm really in a bad mood and I'm short-tempered and I want to lay into the smallest things. So I can only imagine how much she's, gonna extrapolate anger from frustration, from her own regrets and stupidity that she knows she was, and then it's like I can't yell at myself, so I'm going to yell at this guy because I had to get up to take care of myself. And all the time she's saying, I want to get better. So that's the kind of catch-22, because you got to encourage her to get better, but then when she gets up and does something for herself, then she's yelling at you. So it's a real pleasant situation, very tense. That started probably around October, mid-October, where the real deterioration started. And she's like, I'm going to get better, and when I get better, we'll do this or we'll do that. And I'm like, yeah, we will. And I'm thinking now, I'll encourage her to get better, but I'm thinking about actually the reality of her getting better. And I'm looking at climbing out of a very, 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 very deep pit. And the fact that she would get better would be a miracle that would have to be in all the medical journals for all time, because it's like, I want to encourage you to get better, but even the thought of getting better, it sounds like such a project, and it'll cost millions of dollars. So, I mean millions, because the way they bill now with the insurance agencies and the MIC, they got it all figured out to really drive people up, because the insurance companies is paying, and everybody knows the insurance company has all the money in the world to pay everything. So, I'll get into that subject later, because I think it's really stupid to assume there's a pot of gold somewhere. Um, so I went in all cheery and kind of happy that she was up and doing for herself, and I got my head chewed off. She was very angry. Now, the more we were fit to be tied and trying to do everything, the more I realized that my kids are showing different traits than before. They're not acting the same way they would have ordinarily. So Benjamin's the great provider, the generous, if you're in debt, if you're in trouble, here's money and pay me later, and it gets up into the thousands because he's kind of helping us with a lot. And he's the guy that says, if I can't solve the problem, I don't want anything to do with it. And he kind of looked at his mom like, I can't do anything about it, so I'm just going to kind of ignore it. And he was kind of giving her kind of a tough love, like he would literally say flat out to her face, if you want to get better, then start doing things for yourself. And she would get mad, and then it would be like, I don't want you to take care of me anymore, and then it'd be recriminations, horrible. Because you don't want to leave on a bad note. I decided that after she bit my head off. I'm like, I'm not going to I'm not going to bug her again, and I'm not going to get mad at her again, because, oh yeah, I remember the topper. I was all happy, go into the kitchen seeing her, and she bites my head off, and I go, you don't have the luxury to be a bitch anymore. And that was met with silence. And when you're met with silence from your wife, it's something like the apocalypse or Armageddon, because you realize you really are in trouble now. Because a wife smitten dumb is a dangerous thing, because you never know how it's going to come out later. But I said that to her, and I wrote it down that I said that to her. And it was very dramatic, because I'd gone through a lot of years of putting up with a lot of crap, and I finally said, you don't have the luxury to be a bitch anymore. And that was the last mean thing I said to her, because I realized that if I say something really crappy, or we have a fight and then she ends up gone, I'm really going to be angry with myself, and I'm going to be regretting it the rest of my life, because I've done that with pets. And I don't even want to talk about that to this day. And so I'm not going to do it with her. So no matter what happens, I'm not going to have things end on a bad note. And I'm getting close to kind of the end of this, because it's going to go on. And I think I got in what I wanted. I'm going to say that one more time. When you are with your loved one, and it's the end, and you're trying to talk and share the good times, you don't want to search for good memories. And that's it. Take that advice and do nothing else for the rest of your life. And you'll be fine, because in order to create good memories, you got to do things, and you got to do nice things that you can look back on and say, this was great. So I think I gave you some really good advice there. I really am happy that I got this out. I'm glad I didn't break down, because it's going to be hard. And I told you it was going to be hard, and I told you it was going to be epic, and I think I'm right. So I'm going to leave it at that for this episode, and I'm going to talk to you more if I have the gumption to go further, because the mysteries of weird things that happen when you think that you're on the cusp, is kind of interesting but unexplainable. It's kind of more like, this is interesting that it happened, but no exorcist stuff or nothing like that. But I'll talk to you next time. I have a lot to say, and enjoy the morning, everybody. Thanks.